I know what it feels like to put your heart out there and feel like you get nothing in return. To genuinely really want good for everybody else, but to find out that unfortunately others might not want the best for you. To include everyone and yet to be disincluded. If there's one thing people are guaranteed to do, it's to let us down. You know, we're let down by our friends, by our siblings, by our parents, our lovers, our partners, our acquaintances, our neighbors, our communities, and we in turn let others down ourselves. Sometimes we hurt each other. Sometimes we do each other wrong. And the natural human instinct in those moments is to close up, to create walls so high around ourselves and our heart that no one can penetrate, no one can harm us again. What if we just considered that part of the human experience is to feel that hurt, to express that pain, to hurt one another so that we can burn off some karmic strains and stains, and yet through that still be open to love, open to loving, open to the world. I know when someone lets me down, it's hard for me to really see them the same anymore. And lately I've been really hurt and really disappointed by somebody really close to me. And I find myself succumbing to this almost heartbreak and despair that comes with that. That heaviness is only harming me. And in carrying that heaviness every day is only harming me. That's why I always say forgiveness frees... Juppy, here, you wanna come to mommy? Maybe Juppy's gonna join us. That's why I always say that forgiveness frees the forgiver. Because the only one really suffering when we hold on to our heartbreak and our pain is us. And maybe the other person, if they're suffering, you know, if they're feeling that heartbreak as well. But the one really suffering from us holding on and blocking ourselves out from other experiences is us. And perhaps the human experience is about transcending that, about being able to integrate and process the hurts. Unless, of course, it's abusive or life-threatening, in which case the only purpose of that experience is to show you how powerful you are, how strong you are, as you walk away from it, as you protect yourself and save yourself from it. But others with, let's say, a friend who made a comment and hurt your feelings, or somebody who let you down, who didn't show up for you like you expected them to, or somebody who maybe took advantage of you, or your partner who you've been having a hard time with but really want to make things work with. Maybe it's about learning how to do that, how to remain open throughout life, how to not close up because somebody in the past hurt you, and open up to somebody in the future. With age and experience and time, some of us, many of us, tend to put these walls up. We tend to put these walls up around our heart. You know, with time, our consciousness becomes contracted, narrow, rigid. You know, that's why sometimes you see elderly people who are beyond any ability to give forgiveness, who really hold grudges and take them to the grave with them. Because in our youth, in our purity, we are closer to our soul and we can easily forgive and we can easily let go. Our perspective, our consciousness, it's expansive and it's super flexible, just like our bodies. If we don't practice mindfully, our bodies will become rigid. You know, I read a lot and I don't say these words out loud that much. Kabbalah practitioners believe that the soul that's within each human, within each one of us, has several different levels. It goes completely in line with what we've been talking about on this channel for many, many years. The bottommost levels are the levels that are affected by what happens in our physical reality, our physical lives. The experiences we go through that make us feel like we're forced to close up and to defend ourselves. Those parts of us must go through a cleansing process while we're still alive so that we can remain fluid and loving and open and expansive. And if we don't cleanse them out, if we hold on to pain, grudges, all these negative emotions, we become very, very inflexible. Our consciousness is very contracted. However, many of us don't bring fluidity and higher consciousness to these lower levels of our soul while we're still alive. Gratefully, when we do leave our physical bodies, we do get the opportunity to cleanse that layer of soul in order to transcend into the next level. However, while we're still here, when you get to higher levels of awareness and higher levels of consciousness, you get to the truest part of the human soul. This is called the neshama in Hebrew, in Kabbalah, the neshama. This aspect of your soul is who you really are. It's who you are when you strip off all the roles that you play in this reality. And this level of your soul can never be corrupted and can never be defiled. Nothing bad can ever happen to that level of your soul no matter who or what you are in this physical reality. Essentially, what I'm trying to say by this is that within each person in this world, no matter how bad their lower level selves might appear, is a pure soul. There is a practice that we can do to bring our barriers and our walls down and to live from that aspect of our soul that is never corrupted, that is always pure, and that's whole and loving. Because imagine living a life like that. Imagine not being afraid of opening up to things, not being afraid of receiving, not being afraid of experiencing. In this way, we begin to acknowledge that everyone that we see in our day-to-day lives, whether in our physical lives or digitally, every person has a pure soul. We can walk through the world and we can think about every person that we pass by and we think that person has a pure soul. That person has a pure soul. There's a pure soul. There's another pure soul. He is a pure soul. She is a pure soul. They are a pure soul. And when we acknowledge the pure soul, we make it easier for that pure soul to then see us and acknowledge our purity, to treat us from a higher level of consciousness. Now, this does take some practice, but eventually you can walk through reality with an elevated, loving consciousness, and other elevated and loving consciousness, other elevated, loving consciousness people will be aware of you. This is also not a perfect practice. You're gonna have to keep bringing yourself back to it. And sometimes you will lose yourself to the lower levels of your soul and to the ego, and that's okay. It's part of the experience. How fast can you bounce back from that? How fast can you forgive and can you apologize and let go and correct? It's also important to give ourselves the same grace that we choose to give others in this way. So that means sitting with a realization that no matter what you think about yourself and no matter what you've done in your life, you are not too far gone. You are not too jaded. You are not too corrupted or defiled, because within you is a pure soul. You are a pure soul. The soul of every being is pure. So imagine taking this knowledge and ending the cycle of self-abuse, forgiving yourself, and also forgiving others for their shortcomings. Because at the end of the day, there's a pure soul within them, and that part of them is not corrupted, and that part of them is worthy of being forgiven. There's a Jewish prayer that says, "My God, the soul you have placed within me is pure." Take this as an affirmation. Rabbi David Cooper provides the affirmation, "No matter what I feel about myself, I know that I have a pure soul. No matter what I feel about myself." So in all those moments where we kind of beat ourselves up and we're hard on ourselves, use this mantra, "I have a pure soul. I am a pure soul." And see how life opens up to your purity then, and how others treat you, how good it feels to forgive and to let go. We can find the purity in every person. I love you. Until next time, I can't pick my hands up because I'm holding Jupi down, but keep your vibrations way, way, way up. I love you. Bye.